Hello and welcome to part 4 of this gray paper pencil drawing. So what we've already done in part 3 was we finished the lake and we gave a little bit of our bank. So in part 4, which is this, we're going to expand further out into the distance. So what I'm thinking of is beyond this initial little bit of bank, there's some more grass in the distance. Maybe there's this like hill. Kind of goes along like this. And we're just laying this out with the apple green color. Now this is a more distant hill, so first off we're going to use olive green more than dark green now because olive green is a more dull color. So what that does is it gives a better feeling of distance since we don't have the colors aren't quite as vibrant when you use the olive green. So what I'm doing here is I imagine that the hill would be, this would be the reverse slope of the hill, while this is the forward slope. So what I'm doing right here is I'm making the reverse slope, which is facing away from the sunlight, darker already by laying down a decent amount of the olive green. Cover the rest with apple green. Now remember, this is further in the distance, so you don't need as much detail as the foreground. And on the front side of the hill, the side facing the sun, we're just going to use apple green with a little bit of dark green on the shallow part. Now, the reason why we're using dark green is because it's a darker though brighter color than the olive greens. It's more of a pure green than a brownish green. So what this gives the illusion that this side is being shown on by sunlight and it's brighter than the other side in both hue and in shade of how light and dark it is. So let's go in with the blender pencil. Blender pencil is your best friend in this technique. And let's just go in there and start blending. So I'm going to add a bit more color here. And use a bit of the olive green here to give this feeling of a hill. There we go, give it a bit of a form. And now we continue on with the blending. So for grass, I like to blend horizontally with the strokes I go with. It makes it look less flat, I guess, than going in vertical afterwards. So for the water, which is flat, that's what you kind of want. But for grass, which isn't completely flat, it may look a bit flat from a distance, but it's not completely flat. You want a bit of texture to it. Now, blend this hill out more or less, and we'll use a white once again, and we'll just lightly go over the top, blending downwards. We don't want any solid white lines, and you'll kind of make up the top of this hill. Now, actually, previously we did this bank, right? And there's a little cool thing that you can do in order to make it more obvious that this is, a bank. So by going at completely horizontal lines, there's no angle to these whatsoever. I guess there shouldn't be. We are human, so probably, well, at least I can't actually get my lines to be completely straight. But we're just going in straight lines, straight horizontal lines at the edge of where the bank meets the water, and we're just kind of drawing this little water line. We don't want any angles on the water line, or else it'll look like our water is kind of running in weird ways. And we want all the waterline angles to be the exact same. And what this does is it creates another layer of separation between the bank and the water, and it also looks kind of cool. Alright, so what I said was we were going to have a bit of like a forest back here, right? So let's take a bit of our olive green and our dark green, maybe a bit of grass green, and there's actually a peacock green for the Scholar series too. It's not as dark as the Premier one, as it seems to be the case. Most of the time sorry for my mumbling. Generally, Prismacolor Premier colors will be a bit darker than their similarly named Scholar counterparts. So this is the Scholar Grass Green. Grass green is one color it's one of the greens that I just don't use for some reason, even though it's actually a very nice green. It's a very vibrant green. It's a bit too vibrant? I don't know. But what we're going to do is just make out the shapes of a few trees. Now these won't be pine trees or coniferous trees, so we can change up the color a little bit to reflect that. So making out a few basic shapes here and there. The canopy. The closest tree will be here. Kind of looks like this. And using the olive green, we will first lay out this series of bushes. So the way you do it is just by using little circular-ish strokes. These kind of half circle strokes. And so what you do is kind of like this. And we're just kind of do it lightly. Don't want something too definite, and we can just layer in a few of the bushes. So the more layers of bushes you have, the more depth you have in the picture. Now using dark green. Dark green is actually a bit darker than the olive green. So we use that to show a bit of shadow. And now we use the blender pencil, and we kind of just, now for this we want to go with circular strokes with the blender pencil. We're just kind of fluffing it around. And that way the bushes also look fluffy. You can blend a bit into the grass as well, because that can create the feeling of the indication of shadows. So you don't have to spend too much time working in individual shadows in there. Now maybe you want a bit of black. Maybe you want to darken it up a little bit. So for this we'll actually sharpen the black a little bit to the very sharp side. This is very small detail work. It's actually not really detail, but it's just small work. So you don't want a big fat lead, getting in there and poking in different wrong areas, and then you have to try to change them later. With color pencil, you always want to do your best job in the first go. It's not as easy to go over or change things as a lot of other mediums are. With pencil, you can just erase. With a lot of paint, you can move the paint or cover it up, but you can't do that with color pencils. So once again, we're using grass green and just creating a bit of few indications of more trees. So I want these trees to kind of thin out, kind of recede down as we get down here, and then we have another grove maybe over here. So let's take the dark green. we'll be primarily using dark green and grass green in this picture for these trees. And in the areas that you believe will be the shadows in these trees, so the parts facing away from the left, so towards the right. Of course, you should also have a few on the left because the tree's not just a circle; it's got different branches and little puffs of leaves. But these are kind of far away, so you can get away with some of this. Once again, I'm using the same kind of fluff strokes as you did with the bushes and the leaves of the trees with the grass green earlier. This gives you the feeling of poofiness in the leaves. Of course, I'm not really drawing these trees to any particular species or anything. If you really want, you can always keep track of what certain trees look like and draw them. I'm just going to do a random, let's just say maybe a fantasy, Now we can use the olive green, since the olive green isn't as dark as a dark green, to get the intermediate areas. So we have grass green as our light area, the olive green as a medium area, and the dark green as our dark area. And I'm imagining that, let's use a bit of black here. So right above the bushes, I'm imagining this area to be completely cloaked in shadow from the trees. And we just put it over there. And this gives us a nice separation between the bushes and the trees. Work it up a little bit. We don't want a solid black line. It's even worse than a solid white line, honestly. And now we go in these circular strokes, the same ones that we did with the bushes and the rest of the trees, with the blender pencil. And what this does is it gives us a fluffy body to these background trees. Once again, fluffing it. Still using a lot of pressure. Always use a lot of pressure with the blending stick, or else you're just putting in this waxy, clear-ish material onto paper. Now, since we had these previous, light and dark areas in these trees, you can already see, there's the light, the medium, and the dark area, which really gives you a good indication of where the light's coming from. And we'll just kind of blend that out into the distance. It finally fades into nothing. And I'll go with the olive green and put a little bit more color into the base of the bushes. These bushes should be darker than the grass, but lighter than the trees. Or you can have them be darker than the trees. Either way, bushes should not be the exact same color or dark hue as the trees, because you want to make them look like bushes and not trees. You want separation. So, as we said, we have this side done. And now, actually, let's have another grove of trees here, but I think there might be a mountain back here. And so what we have is the trees, we fade into the foothills of the mountain, and then there will be an actual mountain here. So let's go. Once again, we use a grass green, the light tone color. So we're going from the lighter colors into the dark. Since it's easier to go over light colors with darker colors. Darker colors are, of course, stronger than light colors. And this is like a small little grove right here, and then there are a few of the younger little trees. Maybe big old tree died, and those are his children. And then over here it goes back up again. Keep on going in these circular fluffy motions. And right now we're still just trying to get the basic shape of these trees. We're not trying to go for any detail. And then maybe there's a second layer of trees back here. There we go. Once again, we use the olive green. Sharpen it up a little bit, just because it's getting a bit blunt. Now, you can always sharpen your color pencils with really any sharpener. I use this mechanical sharpener. I mean, I don't even remember how old it is. It's almost as old as I am, really. And it still works very well, so find what works for you. If you like to use the manual sharpeners, go ahead and use them. You can even sharpen your pencils with an X-Acto knife or scissors. Although I recommend X-Acto knife over scissors, since you get more control and more sharpness, I suppose. So once again, we're just putting in a row of bushes right here with the olive green. And a little bit of black in order to get the underside shadows and separate it from the grass. And with blender pencil, go in those circular motions and get the bushes blended. Don't be afraid to blend into the grass, since that gives you the shadow feeling. It gives an indication of a shadow without you having to draw a separate shadow. Go with it. Just kind of blend downwards, I guess, into the grass. There. And with the dark green, again in this kind of half circle fluffing motions, laying out the dark areas of these trees. Maybe this tree have a bit dark here. These trees, maybe they're a bit lighter in tone. And just work in all of those dark areas so we can blend them. Have some dark areas for the second layer of trees, and let's go into olive green to get the middle tone, kind of. Same circular strokes, fluffy motions to get that fluffy tree feel. And right now we're just filling in most of the white areas. Although we're not going into the grass green that we already put on. And finally we go the black at the bottom of here is where we think the darkest areas to be. Blend that in. We want separation between the bushes and the trees. And from these trees in the background to the trees in the foreground. Now we laid in all the colors. Let's go back into our blender pencil and just blend everything out. These same circular strokes. Now for background trees, if you want to draw pine trees, actually tell you what, I'll just draw a pine tree or something a bit later. Maybe right here. pine trees are actually easier even to draw when they're far away. So you don't need the kind of branches detail. All you really need are dark color and light color. And of course, if something's far away, it'll be smaller. So with the blending pencil, as usual, you have to use a lot of pressure, which is why this can be a rather tiring affair for your hands. And now I'm left-handed, which makes it, personally for me, it's a bit easier for me to have light come from the left side. Although I'm not exactly sure that's the same for all left-handed people. However you find easier, I suppose. So let's actually have a pine tree, or maybe a few. I mean, these are big pine trees, big coniferous trees, maybe spruce trees. So what we do is we just kind of go down this manner, and out this rough triangular-ish shape. And you have a few of them poking out from the back behind the deciduous trees. And never have your trees be the same height. Always have a bit of variation. The more trees you draw, the more similar you can have them in height. But if you only have 1 or 2 trees, don't make them the same height. In nature, nothing grows the same. So by having trees that are various different heights and widths, you get a bit of variation and it looks more natural. Whereas if everything's the same height, it might look as if, it was manufactured fake. Like a store-bought commercial Christmas tree. Once again, we're using the black in order to get the shadow side of these trees, so the right side. And we go into a blender pencil, sharpen it a little bit. Once again, you want to sharpen the blender pencil to a point where you can work, where the tip is small enough for us to work with, but not to a point where using a lot of pressure would just break it. Now, pine tree leaves are usually, or pine tree needles, coniferous needles, are usually darker in tone than deciduous trees. So reflect that in your drawing. So as you see here, the black and peacock green combination is a bit darker than the grass green and dark green combination we had in the other trees. Right, don't be afraid to blend it out a little bit. Actually, blending these colors out a little bit, like fluffing it, makes it look as if there are even more trees beyond the ones that you can make out. Alright, so we have a pretty. So now we have a decent area of trees here. So what we're going to do next is expand out a little bit. So the grass green, we're going to slightly make the indication of a few hills in the back. Once again, this time we use dark green. There's dark green. There it is. And in the shadow area of this hill. This is further back. And we blend it in. So right here, instead of using the fluffing motions we use on the other side, we use on the trees, we use the straight motions we use for the rest of the grasses. And actually, I see a little bit of a light spot right here. So what I'll do is use a white and just kind of draw this little path, maybe. Speaking of path, actually gives me a little bit of idea. Maybe around here, take the dark brown, the dark umber, which is basically dark brown, and make a little indication of maybe this little house that lives back here. Roof. Really far away, so you don't need much detail. Blend it in. Get a little door. Maybe draw a little indication of a path leading out from it. And later on, we can actually add a little bit of a chimney on there. Who knows? Maybe the guy who owns it has a fireplace. Alright, so right here we have the hill. So once again, we are going to go over it with the white. Blending downwards as always. We don't want a white line. And so what we're going to do in the next part of the series is we're going to get some of the foothills that are pronounced hills instead of these gentle ones. And then if we have time, we'll get the mountain there. Alright. Until next time, bye.